Hi everyone, thank you for tuning in to ChannelBK. My name is Brian. Welcome to another classic album review. I know there was one that came out about a week or so ago. That was just a fun, little spicy one that I wanted to throw in there just because. But also this classic album review I was going to wait till the end of the year to do. But I have had a lot of things going on, and so this one was the most well prepared I was, and I thought it was easier just to throw this one earlier because then, one, it gives me kind of a little time to jump into the 7-year anniversary of this record coming in the month this is out, or going into the month. I don't know when this is going to be uploaded, so whether or not in August. But also it was just a better record for me to focus on. And yeah, we're gonna get into it with Ghost's third studio album, Meliora. Ghost is a Grammy Award winning, for this album in particular, Swedish metal hard rock band. This is a band that I've had a very great relationship getting to know. This was my first introduction to the group, and again, at this time in my life, I wasn't kind of poo-pooey of metal music in general, because obviously if you look at metal is not what it, it's not all this death metal, that sort of stuff. So for me, obviously going into this band, I was a little ignorant just because, I heard a lot of great things about Ghost, and I wanted to sort of stay away from that. I will say the year following the year this came out in 2015 was the first time I jumped onto it. This classic review kind of checks all of why I do classic reviews. I think this album is Ghost's best. I think, this is just one of my favorite albums ever. This, I think, is a very seminal record for modern, kind of more mainstream metal hard rock in the 2010s. I think this is an album that, since I never really got to it when it came out, this is my way of redeeming it and redeeming myself for it because I love Ghost. Again, amongst other things, I think this is an important time to talk about the record because, again, I love it and I want to talk about it. Opus Eponymous sounds like I said I want a hippopotamus for Christmas. Anyways, I know I butchered that, and I am going to butcher the second album name, so I'm not going to try and go and seem like I'm so well versed at this. I just say things wrong. But their debut album was huge for the group, but it was definitely an album that, again, obviously this was not knowledge to me at the time, but they were doing metal in a very theatrical, lavish way. Their first album was a lot more kind of old school rock inspired, and I guess a good example is like a song like Ritual, which I think is a good kind of stage setter for that album. And it was a record that, again, it kind of got them some success. Obviously with their follow-up, Infestus Umam. That's my one that I'm going to do. But this record was actually recorded in Nashville, Tennessee, so this was giving them overseas attention. They were doing a tour here. And this album was met with a little bit more mixed reactions. Unlike the first album where they kind of went at it in a very straightforward way, I think this album was them being a little bit more theatrical and over the top. And some people didn't necessarily think the sonics were as good, or just the songwriting, or just, again, how they approach music. Because, again, I think from an outsider's perspective, when you look at Ghost, you could think they're very corny. I completely agree. To someone like me, when I first started watching performances of theirs, once I finally realized, this is what they sound like, this is totally something I'd be into, I didn't really take it as kind of crazy theatrics. I really just looked at it as, okay, they're pulling off what they want to do. And so going into this album, they had a lot of ways that they could go with it because, again, they were dabbling in so many different areas. The first time I listened to it, and then the first time that probably it came out for everyone, this album was nuts. The way that they constructed the album, it is so tight. I think it's one of those things where I think this is kind of their transition album in a way. I think this is them going for the theatrics, but in a way where I think it's so perfect and excellent, but then the songwriting and the sonics of it are so intense and the vibes are there, and they're doing some kind of old school rock stuff in here as well, which obviously is very different from their following 2 albums, which I love just as much. Like, I actually think, well, not just as much, but you know what I mean. But where something like Prequel was a lot more kind of hard rock, and it went back to kind of that sort of hair rock a little bit on some of it, and it was a little bit more conceptual with the big concept. And then Impera, which just came out, also kind of goes away from some of the spookier kind of theatrics that they've done before, and again, just some great kind of old school rock anthems. And I think those albums are great in itself, but this album is it's hard rock, it's metal, just in terms of what they've done following this, in terms of their little songs that transition song to song, like the little instrumental tracks. I think this is the most tight. Again, I think it's nearly perfect, and I just want to get into it. Spirit opens this entire album up in a just creepy, spacey sound that you just don't really know what's going to happen. It just, woo, like you're really just looking out into space, and then the driving drums and guitar. It just, you're just like, okay, like, let's go. Once it hits into that first verse and and then Papa the Third, which is a big thing that he's been doing, where every album cycle he passes and then a new Papa emerges as the lead singer. This was the introduction of Papa the Third, and I think his vocals coming in, again, he has such a great voice when it comes to the rawness and the deepness of it. But he has gorgeous swooning vocals, and on here, you know, Spirit, boom, boom, but the boom, boom, but the boom, boom, like it is such a perfect opener for an album. Like, it sets you in the mood, you know what's going on, you know the vibe, and you just are ready for what's going to happen. Because again, unlike I think some of their other albums, this album is conceptual, but it's conceptual in a way where I think it's not like super precise. Like, it definitely has a general concept, but I think every song works well with each other, which then gets to probably my favorite Ghost song, From the Pinnacle to the Pit. That bass line on this song is just, it's incredible. Just boom, boom, and then I love that little like on the cymbal beforehand, and then again, just it's just this rock, just dark rock anthem with the and then Papa's vocals fit so perfectly on here, because again, he's just, you wear the crown from the pinnacle to the pit. It's a long way down. Like, again, like, they've done theatrics before, but this album, I think, it doesn't come across as corny. I think it all fits so perfectly, and again, just the intensity of that bass. The guitar solo on here also, too, is incredible. And again, the storytelling on this song, like a lot of songs on this album, aren't these like, they're not so specific or so, like, again, like, sometimes songwriting doesn't have to necessarily just be so intricate, but it's simple, but also detailed in a way where you're just getting such a vivid picture of, again, a lot of what this album's talking about, in the absence of God, where the world is going and trying to fight for that. There's a lot of elements of the obvious story of Satan falling from heaven and the look that it is. Again, this is actually that song, From the Pinnacle to the Pit. And again, just the religious imagery is very, very incredible. Cirice, again, hate me all you want, it's church. That's the translation, so I'll just say it like that. This is the song they won a Grammy for, and it shows. It's, again, just a lot like Spirit. I think the way it's constructed is almost just perfect. I love the intro, the acousticness that opens it. Again, it's haunting, it's devilish. The drive, the boom, 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 and then the dun dun, boom, 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 and it's just great. And then Papa's vocals on here are so incredible as well. I love the way he approaches the songwriting. It's very empathetic and sympathetic, where he's really talking to a person, and seeing kind of their religious transformation, and the vocals and the lyrics on here are just incredible. Like the breaking in your heart, I can feel the scars, or I could see the scars inside you. It's beautiful and haunting, and just again, like hearing the, can you hear the rumble? Like it's operatic, it's huge, but it works so well. Like it works on all that it's trying to do. It's very theatric, it's a great rock song, and the progression on it is great with the songwriting. Ghost Sonata is the instrumental, the first instrumental track on here. I'm not even going to try and say the name, the Swedish name, but this, I love kind of the folkiness in this instrumental, and just the acousticness, which leads into He Is, which is a really great transition. And I love, again, that acousticness opens it, and this song is, I don't even want to just say worship of Satan, because I don't want it to seem that dull or that like eye-rolling, because it's, again, the song He Is, Papa's painting these vocals of him, and just the light that he shines, and just looking to him for guidance. And this is, in my opinion, the first time on this album where you get Ghost's kind of old school styles. This is a huge prog rock song, and it goes to show the progression on here is just great. And then the following track, Mummy Dust, is very creepy, very intense from the beginning. And the song deals with greed. This is actually not the first time that this topic is brought up about material things and humans sort of feeling like, they have one source of things, so that feels like they're going to go to heaven and salvation and all that. And this song definitely deals with what greed can do to a person. And I think the quiet chorus is like perfect from the aggression with the piano. Do, 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 do. The mummy dust, my mummy dust. Like, it's chilling. Majesty is, I guess, a part 3 to their following 2 albums, again from their cycle of the storytelling from the Antichrist rising and becoming, here on Earth. And this song is a really great follow-up to that sort of sequel of the first 2 albums. This song is probably the one song on the album that I don't go back to as much, mainly because I think there are elements on here that definitely are a little familiar, but again, I do think it fits really well on the album. And then this song transitions into the second instrumental on here, Devil Church, which the organs on here are incredible. And again, the drive that it builds into Absolution, I think is great. Absolution just starts just evil. It starts super evil. Going back to the thing about greed, this song about people who think that just because they have all these things and that they're going to be the closest ones to go to heaven. It's not. It's kind of about the downfall of that and the realization of that. And again, I just love the poetry that Papa is singing about, and then the chorus is great. Put your hands up and reach for the sky. Boop, boop, boop. Cry for absolution. Like, it's great. Like, their songs are catchy, and they're evil, and they're menacing, but they also have this beauty to them and this grace, and just the way they put them together, it's so tight. That's the other thing on this album too, is the production is everything is so well mixed together and well put together. And then we finish this entire album, Deus and Absentia, which basically means in the absence of God. And what a way to end an album. They know how to start an album, and they sure know how to end an album. It's kind of just looking at a world on fire, from the chorus too. But just again, sitting there just seeing, you could just tell just like what they're trying to paint on the song, the vision that they're trying to paint. I love, again, the keys on here are great, and I just love when it gets to that chorus and how big and epic it is. Bum 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 bum. It's great. The choir vocals that end the album with the repeating of what the title of the song is, and it's very chilling, very haunting, and it's a nice wrap up to the rest of the album. It's just one of those things where everything clicked so perfectly, from the production, from the lyrics, the actual song, like the actual way they built the songs, from the structure of them. Hell, even I think the cover's the coolest cover they've ever put out with, because it's so obvious. Like, obviously when you look at all their covers, there is that obviousness to it, but this is a lot more like detailed, and the imagery that you see on here is not as obvious when you first look at it, and when you see kind of what they're doing and the secrets and the Easter eggs in it, you go, that is so cool. And I think just everything about this album, I think, is near perfect and flawless, and I love it. It's a classic album to me, and I'm so happy that I was able to talk about it. Not this early, but I just wanted to get it over with, just so then I knew that this was going to be all good to go. If you've listened to this album, what do you think? Comments below, like, comment, subscribe. Go listen to it if you haven't. And go check out all the other classic reviews and the other videos that are on my channel. I'd really appreciate it. But until next time, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for tuning into ChannelBK. Peace out, everyone.